When the Spanish arrived in what is now Mexico, they encountered a well-established society. The Aztec Empire was made up of three important city-states, Tenochtitlan, Texcoco and Tlacopan, which were larger than several European cities and, in many aspects, even more developed. And this is due to the ability that this civilization had to develop and perfect some inventions that are still used today. 1. Aqueducts. Aqueducts were part of the architecture of several ancient civilizations, such as the Chinese, Phoenician, Greek and Roman. But here in America, the Aztecs also developed their own way of providing clean, running water to their capital Tenochtitlan. The Chapultepec Aqueduct, also known as the Great Aqueduct, began to be built in 1418 with clay and plant materials. Although it provided plenty of water for the city, in 1449 a flood destroyed much of the building. A second aqueduct was built at the beginning of the 14th century, using the same base as the previous one, but made with stones covered with mortar. To ensure uninterrupted supply, a second gutter was also built so that water could divert when maintenance was required from the main gutter. 2. Rubber. Rubber is one of the most important materials in the history of humanity. It has allowed a series of advances over the last few centuries for the most varied purposes. And the discovery of this important material is attributed to the Aztecs. They found that mixing latex from rubber trees with juices squeezed from some types of plants would produce different results. If they wanted a more elastic material, more juice was needed. Now, if they wanted a more resistant rubber, the mixture would be made with more latex. The dominance that the Aztecs had in rubber production was so great that they were able to produce both very elastic materials, such as balls used in sports, and some that were more resistant to wear and tear and used in sandals. 3. Chocolate. Chocolate is a food that is present in cultures around the world, being traditional in countries such as Belgium and Switzerland. But it was created by the civilizations of Central America and perfected by the Aztecs. For them, cocoa was such an important food that it was even used as currency. It was used in drinks during important ceremonies, to feed soldiers and on other more everyday occasions. When the Spanish arrived in America, they didn't like the way chocolate was consumed because it was too bitter. It was only when they decided to add milk and sugar to the mixture that the food began to be introduced in Europe. Hernán Cortés, who led Spanish domination over the Aztecs, was the one who took the delicacy to his country, from where it began to spread throughout Europe. 4. Antispasmodic medicine. Medicine has developed in different ways throughout history, and the Aztecs made several important discoveries in this regard. They had effective treatments for infections, developed creams for certain skin problems and managed to create an antispasmodic treatment. From a derivative of passion flower and Aztec fennel, they were able to treat patients before a surgical procedure to relax their muscles and prevent muscle spasms. 5. Red dye. Aztec culture is closely associated with the use of vibrant colors, and one of the most important for them was red. They managed to create a dye from cochineal, a small insect that produces carminic acid to protect itself. This substance, after being extracted, has a very intense red pigmentation. It was the Aztecs who discovered that by crushing these insects, they would have access to a bright red dye. It was so vibrant that when the Spanish had their first contact with the Aztec leader, Montezuma, they were impressed by his clothes, which had many details in this color. Upon discovering the dye extraction technique, the Spanish created a monopoly on cochineal drying, which in the following centuries began to be used by European monarchies. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Until the next video.